What happens when jealousy enters a home? What happens when a child loses her mother and gains a woman with a heart colder than stone? This is a story about wickedness, patience, greed, suffering, and justice. It's a story of a cruel stepmother who believed nobody would ever discover that the evil she was doing behind closed doors. But in every village, secrets eventually rise like smoke from fire someday. Let's begin. Long ago, in a quiet village of Ozubulu, surrounded by tall palm trees and red earthen road, there lived a hardworking farmer named Dogo. Dogo was respected in the village, not because he was rich, but because he was powerful and because he was kind. He lived with his beautiful wife Amina and their young daughter called Zuri. Zuri was known across the village for her gentle spirit. She greeted elders respectfully. She helped neighbors fetch water. She shared food with children poorer than herself. People often ask, any home that has a child like Zure will never lack blessings. And truly, their home was filled with laughter and blessings. Every evening after farm work, Amina would cook while singing traditional songs. Dogo would repair baskets behind the fire. Little Zurei would dance around the compound while chicken chased insects near her feet. It was a simple life and it was peaceful. Unfortunately, peace does not always remain forever. One rainy season, sickness entered the village. People coughed day and night. Herbal healers moved from house to house. Several villagers became sick and weak. One morning, Amina collapsed. Few days, Dogo searched for medicine. For a lot of days, he prayed, he begged healers, he sacrificed, but nothing worked. Before sunrise on the seventh day, Amina died. The entire village mourned. They mourned her. It was a painful death, and Dogo could not bring himself to get over her. Little Zure cried until she had no strength left. Her mother's wrapper tightly closed to her, and she refused to let go. From that day forward, the happiness in the house disappeared. Then months passed. Dogo tried raising Zure alone, but farming, cooking, cleaning, and caring for a child became too difficult. The elders advised him, you are still a young man. Remarry so your daughter can have a mother figure. At first, Dogo refused. He still loved Amina deeply and wouldn't want to hurt even her memory. But pressure continued. Eventually, he agreed. Not long after, he married a woman named Salama. At first, Salama appeared kind. She spoke softly. She smiled often. She cooked delicious meal. In public, everyone praised her. Dogo has found another good wife, the villagers says. Even Zure tried to love her and was now loving her. But some people hide darkness behind sweet smile. The moment Salama settled into the home, everything slowly began to change. She disliked hearing people praise Zure. Whenever visitors said, your daughter is beautiful, oh," Salama's face would tighten. Whenever elders blessed Zure, Salama becomes irritated. Deep inside her heart, her jealousy was growing. Then Salama gave birth to her own son, and that was when everything changed. From that day, her hatred towards Zure became worse. Salama began giving Zure the hardest chores. Every morning before sunrise, Zure swept the compound alone. She fetched water from river far outside the village. She gathered firewood under the hot sun. She washed clothes until her hands became rough. Meanwhile, Salama's own son rests comfortably. Whenever food was served, Zure received the smallest portion. Sometimes she ate only leftovers. If she complained, Salama would shout, you are lazy. You should be grateful I even feed you. Dogo rarely noticed the abuse. He spent most days on distant farm, and whenever he returned, Salama pretended to care for Zure. She even lied. She refuses to obey me, Salama would say. She insults me when you are away. Dogo became confused. He loved his daughter. He refuses to obey. Salama would say, "She insults me when you're away." Dogo became confused. He loved his daughter, but he also trusted his wife. So he would remain silent. This silence allowed the suffering to continue. Dogo didn't know what to do. He didn't want to offend his wife nor hurt the child. As months passed, Salama became more wicked. One evening, Zuri accidentally broke a clay pot while carrying water. Salama exploded with anger. She beat the child mercilessly with stick. Zure cried loudly, but nobody came. After the beating, Zure locked her outside in the cold night. She was hungry. She was afraid and even shivering. Zure sat beneath a tree and cried softly. An old woman passing by heard her crying. "What happened to you?" she asked. At first, Zure remained silent. She feared more punishment. But eventually, she told the old woman everything. The woman's eye filled with sadness. "My child," she whispered, "wickedness never lasts forever. Don't worry. God would avenge for you." Before leaving, the woman handed Zure roasted yams wrapped in leaves. It was the first kindness Zure had received in a long time. Slowly, villagers began observing strange things. Why was Zuri always thin? Why did she always look tired? Why did bruises appear on her arms? Whenever people asked questions, Salama answered quickly. She falls carelessly. She refuses to eat. At other times, she would say, "She's a very stubborn girl." Some villagers believed her, others did not. Others were indifferent about it. One woman named Mama Kessie became suspicious. She had watched Zure grow from childhood. She knew the girl was respectful and hardworking. One afternoon, Mama Kessie secretly followed Zure to the river. There she saw the little girl carrying an enormous bucket while crying quietly. Mama Kessie comforted her. "My child, tell me the truth." This time, Zure broke down completely in tears. She explained everything: the hunger, the insults, the beating, the punishments. Mama Kessie was horrified. That evening, whispers spread across the village. People began worshipping Salama more carefully. People began watching Salama more carefully, but Salama still believed she could fool everyone. One season, Dogo farm produced a massive harvest. People said it was the best harvest in years. There were bags of maize filled the compound, goals multiplied, money entered the home. Instead of becoming grateful, Salama became greedy. She wanted everything for her son. She feared that one day Zure would inherit part of the property, so she began to plot. Evil plots against Zure. One night, while everyone slept, Salama went to visit a feared herbalist deep in the forest. The old herbalist listened quietly. Then he asked, "What exactly do you want?" Salama lowered her voice. "I want the girl removed from my life forever." The herbalist stared at her for a long moment. "Be careful," he warned. "Evil plans often return to the sender." But Salama ignored the plant. The old man was very pitiful of Zure and did not want to hurt her. But then, since he had to do his job, he still went ahead. A few days later, Salama pretended to act kindly. "Zure," she said sweetly, "tomorrow you will help me gather special fruits from the forest." Zure felt surprised. It had been a long time since Salama spoke gently to her. "Zure," she said sweetly, "tomorrow you will help me gather special fruits from the forest." Zure felt surprised. It had been a long time since Salama spoke gently to her. "Mommy, are you sure we would have to do this?" "My daughter, don't worry. I will go with you. You don't need to be afraid." The next morning, they entered the forest together. Birds chirped above them, tall trees blocked lights, and eventually they reached a dangerous area villagers even avoid. Salama pointed ahead. "Go there and gather the fruits near the rock." As Zurei walked away, Salama quickly turned and disappeared. Oh my word. Abandoned the child deep inside the forest. Hours passed. Zure searched desperately for the path home, but darkness began to fall. Fear consumed her. She cried for help. Then she heard footsteps. An elderly hunter appeared carrying a lantern. Child, why are you here alone? Zuri explained everything. The hunter became curious. Your stepmother is indeed wicked. She wants wild animals to eat you up. He looked at Zuri and took her safely to his hut for the night. Meanwhile, back in the village, Salama lied again. She ran away, she said to Dogo. She had always been troublesome. Dogo became devastated. Search party entered the forest, but they found nothing. For the first time, Dogo began questioning his wife's stories. The next morning, the elderly hunter escorted Zure back to the village. When the villagers saw her alive, they were happy. But Zure explained how Salama abandoned her. It shook everyone and it spread very fast. Dogo could not believe it. He turned towards his wife. Tell me this is not true. Salama denied everything. She is lying. But then the hunter spoke. I found this child alone in the dangerous forest region where even the grown men fear to sleep and fear to tread. Then Marquesi stepped forward. So the rumors were true all this while. I followed her to the river and she told me everything some months back. One by one, villagers began revealing things that they had witnessed: the bruises, the hunger, the punishments, the insults. Dogo stood frozen. The truth finally crashed on him. His own daughter had been suffering for years while he ignored the signs. He wept bitterly. Then he apologized to Zurei before the entire village. My child, forgive me. Zurei cried and embraced her father. But the story was not over because Salama's wickedness still had consequences waiting. The village took matters like this very seriously and took it to the council of elders. The elders gathered beneath the great Iroko tree. Villagers surrounded the meeting place. Salama was called forward. At first, she defended herself. She was only trying to destroy my name. This girl is wicked. I don't know why she's saying all this about me. But the evidences that came after she had defended herself were overwhelming. Even her own neighbors testified against her. The old elder spoke softly. A woman would destroy a child destroys the future. Another spoke. You entered this home pretending to bring peace, but instead you brought suffering. Finally, the chief elder gave judgment. Salama, you are no longer needed in this village. You are hereby banished. Salama was sent away from the village permanently. She would leave without claiming any of Dogo's property. Nobody spoke. Then the drum sounded and the judgment was final. Salama realized too late that her lies had collapsed. After Salama's departure, peace slowly returned to the household. Dogo changed completely. He spent more time with Zurei. He listened to her. He protected her. The villagers also supported the young girl. Women taught her cooking and weaving. Men taught her farming and trading. Years passed, Zure grew into a wise and respected young woman. Her suffering had not destroyed her kindness. Instead, it made her stronger. People admired her resilience. Eventually, a young trader from the neighboring village of Omunda came for her hand in marriage. He was honest, respectful, and hardworking. Their wedding became one of the happiest celebrations the village had ever seen. Music filled the air. Many elders reflected on everything that had happened. One elder whispered, goodness may suffer for a season, but evil never wins forever. This African folktale carries powerful lesson that still applies today. Jealousy can destroy families. Salama became consumed by envy because people loved and praised Zurei. Instead of building love, she allowed bitterness to grow. Silence can become dangerous. Dogo ignored warning signs for too long. Sometimes people suffer quietly while others fail to pay attention. Children deserve protection. A child should never live in fear inside her own home. Communities must care for vulnerable children. Fourth, wickedness eventually becomes exposed. Salama believes her lies would last forever, but truth has a way of revealing itself. Finally, suffering does not always define a person's future. Despite everything she experienced, Zure remained kind and hopeful. This is true strength.